Welcome back to part two, Pinter's Space Hopper with a 50-gram hop stand. Today we are going to find out the results. There are alternatives to a hop stand, of course. You could dry hop into your pinter. You can put the hop pellets in loose, or you could put the hop pellets in small hop bags and pop them inside your pinter. Or some people have mentioned that they like to make a hop tea. I will just give you a little brief of the pros and cons of some of these ideas before we move on to test this result. First off, we'll cover the idea of using hop bags. When I do use hop bags, I like to use mini ones. And as you can see here, this is a pinter lid connected to the dock. This shroud that connects inside here basically diverts all the waste and sediment, which will eventually become your trub, the spent yeast and the like, all through the gap of this valve, which is opened when it's connected into the docking station. So all the waste will run down here and nicely channel itself into the dock. That's great. If you can visualize that the pinter will be connected to this, screwed in the vertical position, then had we put hop bags inside the pinter, they will naturally drop and land on top of this shroud. That can prevent the access for the sediment and, if you like, the trub and the spent yeast and all the waste making its way through this channel, through the valve opening and into the dock. So one of the downsides of putting hop bags inside is that they can reduce the efficiency of the waste getting inside the dock. The second negative to adding the hops to a hop bag is that the hop bags will be resident then inside the pinter for the entire duration of both fermentation and conditioning and the duration of tapping. You will no doubt have seen in the past that I have used mini hop bags many times quite successfully. So I wouldn't say that you shouldn't use them by any stretch. All I would say is that through my experience, you're probably better off using no more than two and never fill the hop bag more than half full maximum because of the expansion of the hops. These hop bags end up like little torpedoes inside your pinter, and I wouldn't recommend that you use more than two because you'll clog up the system and prevent all the sediment getting into the docking station effectively. The other option, of course, is to throw your hop pellets in loose before you do your pinter up and screw it up. Now, there's pros and cons to this too. It's not a bad result if you put the hops in neat. If you put them in loose, then you'll get quite a good result. You'll get a good hop, hop flavour in the beer. But the downside of it is the hops tend to expand significantly. Now, in this hop stand, I put 50 grams in. If you put 50 grams of hop pellets loose inside your pinter for a dry hop, you should see how much they expand. I mean, literally, when I sieved it out of this brew, you probably didn't see it on the camera, but it nearly filled a cereal bowl with expanded hops. So that'd be enough to absolutely choke this dock. It would fill the dock up with hop matter, and there'd be no space left for your spent yeast, your sediment, the trub, and everything else that is going to end up in there. So it would render that part of the system ineffective. You would probably find hop matter and spent yeast and sediment being now forced back up into your brew, and that would affect your results at the end. So if you are determined to use loose pellets, then you can do that, but I honestly would recommend an absolute maximum of 20 grams. But ideally, you've got probably looking at 10 grams if you want to play it safe. The third option is hop tea. I've had a few people mention this to me, why not make a hop tea? And I'll tell you why I personally stay away from hop teas, and that is because I just find an ineffective use of hops. When you make a hop tea, they're quite weak in truth. I think that if you put a hop tea in the beginning of your pinter before you go through fermentation, I don't think that the result is very hoppy at all, and I kind of think it's not good value for money for the hops that you'll use to make the tea. If you come up with a hop tea and you add it from a used hopper bottle and add it at the end of fermentation, you'll probably get a better result in terms of the hoppiness of the beer. But I still personally think that hop teas are underwhelming. And if you're looking for a real hoppy punch, I just think that the dry hop or the hop stand personally is going to beat a hop tea every time. So I don't mess with the hop teas. I think when you make the hop teas, the extraction of the hop oils is not very effective, and I don't think that the hop, the actual smell, the aroma, the taste, I just don't think it's got the power. It's not got the punch that I'm looking for. So for me personally, it's a no-go with hop teas. This space hopper has now been through its 9 days fermentation. I popped the dock off, put it back in the fridge for 9 days conditioning, and it is now ready to go. And we will give it a little taste and see what we think. So here it is at last. First thing you can see is that this has now pretty much been converted into hazy IPA. I mean, it doesn't look like the original space hopper at all, I don't think. It's got a real, real haziness going on to it now. So it's changed the actual beer quite significantly, the hop stand. So we'll give it a quick smell now. It's absolutely bursting with hops. This is. I mean, it's way more significant than I thought it would be. In truth, it's really quite a deep, dank smell. That is. It's it's deep. it's deep. It's definitely going to be. It's definitely going to be hoppy. There's no doubt about that. So I'll give it a quick taste. Right. It tastes quite strong. I mean, it tastes quite high in alcohol. Of course, this is said to be 7%, and it no doubt is. You can taste that. I can taste the punch in this. Now, the hoppiness in this is significant. You really need to like hoppy beers to want to do this. The hop stand at 50 grams. I just took a pot shot. I thought 50 grams, and I give it an hour, which is probably a bit excessive. I was erring on the side of caution. I wanted to really get that hoppiness in, and it has worked significantly well. Now, it's a real deep, dank hoppiness. It's quite powerful. So you'd only want to do this if you love the hops. But of course, what you could do is fine tune it. Really, if I was to do it again, I'll be honest, I'll just try it. I'll just try it once more. It's really flavoursome. I mean, it's a great result. I like it a lot. It's very good. I'll be honest, I like hoppy beers. I like hoppy IPAs. I like double IPAs, even triple IPAs. I like that style of beer. But for a daily drinker, this would be my limit, to be honest. I'd probably, if I was to do it again, I'd probably actually reduce the hops, which I didn't think would be the case. I thought I'd be experimenting to see how many hops I could, drive into one of these. But I actually think that this is about as hoppy as I would want it to be. Next time I try this, I think I would go for a shorter duration. With this one, I decided to experiment with 60-minute hop stand, but I actually think that once I'd heated the fresh press up to 85 and got it all mixed in, once the flame was off, next time I think I'd probably try 30 grams of hops chucked in once the mixing's complete, and when I put it into the sink, and it'll be in the sink cooling down from 85 degrees C to 20 degrees C, and probably for the 30 minutes that it's in the sink and going through that temperature change, I think that in itself would probably be long enough to give us what we're looking for from a hop stand for the pinter. And I think that would make it a little bit more efficient as well. There'd be less hanging around. Get it mixed up into the sink, it's cooling down, hop stand, you're achieving two things at the same time. So I think that is what I would experiment with next time. But the result of this, without a doubt, is excellent. I think it's probably safe to say that it tops any experiments that I've done in the past with either loose pellets or hop bags. But that's purely by the fact that I've managed to put 50 grams in. I've put so much more in. But the hoppy flavour has been really successful in carrying itself right through the process of fermentation and conditioning, and it's came out at the end, still absolutely powered up. This is jacked with hops. There's no doubt about it. So it's a decent result. So anyway, that is the conclusion of this experiment. I hope you enjoyed it. Thanks for watching, and I will catch you on the next one. Cheers.